There were a few times where I was like, "Oh, I like this, but everybody seems to hate it. So am I missing something here?" But a lot of it was kind of seeing, okay, everybody has different opinions, and while I don't agree with them per se, that's how they feel about wrestling. And at first, it was a little bit of challenge, or I challenged that opinion, and then over time, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? Wrestling is it's such a subjective art, and everybody will have something different to say about it based off of what they prefer.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Fresh, and today I'm back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by the one and only Kaden Lee from the Around the Point Network. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
So, if we take this back, where do you first discover wrestling, but as a fan?
I started watching wrestling consistently in 2017. It was the Kevin Owens Shane McMahon story for Hell in a Cell. And like I had watched some clips leading in, but that was really kind of what dragged me into all this.
Okay, because everyone looks back on that story and that time with Shane with sort of whatever the opposite of rose tinted glasses is. They don't always like it, do they? Like
Yeah,
the Shane
I
McMahon
mean,
run back then.
everybody hates that story, but I personally like I don't know why it's what drew me in, but for some reason that's what I fell into.
You brought up there about that was when you watched wrestling consistently. So, what was your exposure to wrestling before that?
I had watched a little bit, like mainly clips. I remember like my best friend was really into wrestling in elementary school, so we used to watch like Vince McMahon firing people clips was my favorite. I watched some John Cena
Compilations
stuff.
type thing.
Yeah, the compilations. Yeah, John Cena stuff. I remember like a month before that, I saw the Roman Reigns, John Cena face off. Yeah, it was Roman Reigns and John Cena face off going into whatever paper, No Mercy. I think it was No Mercy
I know what you're.
2017.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so that was the first thing, and then I was like, okay, I like this, and then I was on like a plane, and they had the SmackDown on the channels that you can watch on your phone, and so I was like, all right, let me throw SmackDown on, and I ended up really liking that episode.
Mm. Was this still in the 2017 like era
Yeah,
sort of thing?
yeah, I was, yeah.
So obviously, with your fandom being quite recent, there's a back catalogue of a lot of stuff that you can go back and watch, right? What has
Mhm.
been something that maybe you've gone back and watched from any era that you're like, oh man, I wish I was a fan at this point? And then what's something that you're like, thank God I wasn't watching at this point?
I would say one of my favorite matches of all time is Brett Owen at WrestleMania 10. Those two guys are right up my alley for what I like, and especially Owen, never having him in my life as a wrestling fan, and I think he might have passed away before I was born. So that's a big one where I wish I was there for that. And then what I was wish I was not there for, and I'm happy I wasn't there for. There's a plethora of things. Most of the like, there's a lot of stuff in like the Attitude Era, WCW 2000s. Obviously, everybody talks about that. The beginning of the PG era wasn't great. I mean, there's a lot there, but I'd mainly probably say like, man, 1995, 1996 WWF is not for me. I really dislike it.
Fair enough. Why is that something that you dislike then?
It's not my style of wrestling. A lot of my friends make jokes with me because I like higher paced stuff, but it's not only that. I like in the ring. I like technically sound wrestlers. I like entertainment. I like counters. I like grappling. I like reversals, all that type of stuff. And obviously, I like spot foo. I like seeing some flips, and that
Mm.
just was not happening at that point. It was a lot of slow matches that are just not really my style, and gonna probably get some people making fun of me for it. But it put me to sleep. That type of stuff is just not my type.
Fair enough. So when you discover wrestling in 2017 and you discover the Shane McMahon feud, how does that then impact your life? Do you go from almost 0 to 100 is as in no wrestling to all wrestling, or how does that work?
So it was a little gradual at first. I would go, I think I was just watching SmackDown, and then I moved over to Raw after the Hell in a Cell pay per view, and I watched both. And then it was every it was still pay per view at the time on the network. So I
Mm.
subscribed to the network. I would watch every pay per view. I eventually moved to NXT, I think around Brooklyn 4 in 2018, August 2018.
I don't
And
remember what was
then,
on that card, but I know
yeah,
which one you're talking about.
yeah, it was that was a fantastic show. That's what drew me in. And then I went, and then I remember I had started hearing, I don't know if it was on Twitter or YouTube, I started hearing people talking about the Elite
Mm.
and that they were going to start this wrestling company. And I'd heard about All In, and I didn't know a lot. And then when they announced the company, I was like, this is something I'm going in on. I knew nothing about any of these guys. I knew that they were good. That's what I had heard, is that they were good wrestlers. And then I went full in on AEW. And from there in 2019, basically once Double or Nothing happened, that's when I went deep into New Japan, into independent wrestling, into Ring of Honor came a little later, just because I didn't have enough time to go into that brand yet.
Mm.
But I would say Double or Nothing 2019 was when I went like full into being a hardcore wrestling fan.
So you talked about there all the promotions you started watching after Double or Nothing 2019. How did that affect your WWE fandom? Did you that sort of go to one side or what?
It definitely brought it down. 2019 was just, I think that was the worst year I've seen ever of WWE in my time being a fan. It was just not at its peak, and they were lacking a little bit. And I learned what I liked
Uh-oh.
in pro wrestling in 2019, and coming from AEW or coming from New Japan. So yeah, it kind of shifted me over, and WWE took like a little bit of a background for a bit.
Mm. You also brought up there Twitter and discovering wrestling the elite through Twitter. So how do you feel like that affected your fandom? Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's back.
Oh, is it back now?
Yeah, it should be.
Right. So what I asked was, you brought up there as well. How did discovering wrestling through Twitter affect your fandom almost?
I don't, I think discovering wrestling through Twitter more so, I don't know how much it really changed a lot of things. I really made a lot of my opinions on my own, and all it did for me was kind of expose me to things, right? It showed me it showed me the Elite. It showed me Ring of Honor. It just showed me NXT. That's really all it did. Was it said, here are the other things you can go watch, and here are other opportunities that you have in pro wrestling. But it never really swayed any of my opinions in terms of like what I ended up liking overall.
Mm. Obviously, as we know, to continue on the Twitter discussion, Twitter can be a sort of, it can be a great place, but it can be a, okay, I've had my fill for the day sort of place,
Mhm.
if you know what I mean. So, how did that almost affect your fandom when you are scrolling through Twitter and you're like, these opinions aren't mine? Did that ever change your opinion? And you'd be like, okay, maybe I do need to start following these guys, like media people?
There were a few times where I was like, "Oh, I like this, but everybody seems to hate it. So am I missing something here?" But it was a lot of it was kind of seeing, okay, everybody has different opinions, and while I don't agree with them per se, that's how they feel about wrestling. And at first, it was a little bit of challenge, or I challenged that opinion, and then over time, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what, wrestling is it's such a subjective art, and everybody will have something different to say about it based off of what they prefer.
Mm. So, how do you join up with the Around the Point now?
So these guys I met through True Heel Heat. I started doing some stuff over mainly on True Heel Heat Sport Channel in August, and I did that for a lot of the NFL American football season last year. And so these were some guys who I would stream with. And then I think it was December, they were like, hey, why don't you come join us? And I joined them late December, and they did like a major rebrand into the Around the Point network. They used to be called something else, and yeah, they went full on into doing all this. And I was like, okay, these are guys I like. This is something I want to do. I want to help build something that I can say I helped with. This is something I can call like not necessarily my own. It's all of us, but I can be
I know
proud
what
of
you
it
mean,
and
though.
try to build something. And I mean that's where I've been doing this hard for like we've been grinding at this for about 6 months now, and I'm really happy with what we're building.
Mm. You brought up as well there about, or you put this tweet out recently, and if you don't want to talk about this, I do fully understand, and it'll be edited out. You put up this tweet recently, basically saying that the great man that is Will Washington, you wouldn't be in the position you're in today without him. So, what did you mean by that?
So Will Washington, he's an amazing friend. First of all, I want to say that first. He's always been a really good friend since I met him about a year ago. But he needed somebody, or he was going to be by himself for a day after Dynamite last year. I think it was the episode actually where Swerve and Lee had won the tag titles in AEW.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was going to be by himself. So I shot him a DM and I said, "Hey, I'm home. I'm doing nothing. If you want me to hop on." And he goes, "Yeah, sure. Let's do it." And he I thought I did good on the show. I'm really proud of that episode. It's still one of my favorites that I've ever done. And from there, he followed me and we just texted. We hung out a lot for All Out weekend in Chicago. He he gave me a lot of info, like a lot of tips on life.
Advice.
He's constantly helped me with anything in the space. He's given me those opportunities on Day After Dynamite. And then, like I said, he's been an amazing friend whenever I've needed him. Something's been going on. He's somebody I know I can reach out to. And yeah, he's just one of those people who will always be there if you need him, he helps his friends no matter what.
Mm. So, without blowing smoke, how did you feel when you saw that All Elite graphic come up about 2, 3 weeks ago as we were recording this?
So I was in the middle of finishing up an exam, and I was like just kind of like looking over my answers to make sure I liked everything. And then I saw the Fightful Select report, and I just saw Will Washington is all elite. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna hit submit on this so I can go look at this graphics. I wanted to see it. And I was just overwhelmed with joy. It's something that I had expected a little bit just based off of everything that had been announced, like him leaving Fightful. I was like, okay, if he's leaving Fightful, what could it be?
That was
And
my thinking as well. I'm going to be totally
yeah,
honest.
I think a lot of people were thinking it, and but still seeing it was surreal. I didn't think he'd get the graphic, so it made me really happy. And I made sure I was like, okay, he's gonna get a million texts today. Let me wait a day and then I'll reach out to him. So that's what I did. And yeah, I'm excited. I know that it's gonna be extremely out of date by the time this airs, but as of when we're recording this week, they're in Austin, which is where I am right now in Texas. And they're gonna be there. So I'm gonna be able to see them for the first time since they announced it, which I'm really excited about.
That is awesome. So, just to summarize the Will Washington portion of this chat, do you believe you'd be like in your tweet? Was that something you truly believe, which is like, I would not be in the position I'm in today without Will Washington?
100%. Without being invited on that day after Dynamite, none of this would be happening right now in my career.
Mm. So, you brought up your career then. When you start working in the, I hate doing quote unquote, but the wrestling media, how did that change your fandom?
I it's interesting because it really brought it didn't necessarily bring it down because I still love pro wrestling, but it added this extra flair in it where it's hard to enjoy some things
Mm.
because you're in it so to a degree you're in it so much where you're told certain things that are going to spoil, you're told certain things that are going to take away your enjoyment. So it is a struggle sometimes for me to enjoy everything still and to be a fan And so that's where you have to kind of you have to draw lines and you have to say, okay, this is where I have to if I want to enjoy this, I've got to stop doing wrestling media things for this. Or if I want to do wrestling media for this, I have to know and have this expectation that, okay, maybe I'm just not going to enjoy this show or enjoy
Mm,
this certain thing. So it's all about kind of finding that middle ground. But yeah, it really does take down your fandom a little bit and can hurt your excitement,
mm.
unfortunately.
You brought up there maybe having to step back as a fan for some things and then maybe raising your fandom up for other things. So, what products have you had to maybe step away from? Is the wrong word, but I know what I mean. Like, take a step back as a fan of. And then, what products have you maybe discovered to help take their place?
So taking the place has been Stardom more recently and New Japan for sure. I've always loved New Japan. I don't do a lot of media stuff for New Japan, so that's just kind of my one that I enjoy. In terms of taking a step back as a fan, it's probably it's probably AEW and WWE that I have to do. AEW I'm still a massive fan of, and I try to get my little fan moments in. But yeah, there's a like finding that balance between being professional and being a fan is it can be a struggle sometimes, especially for somebody like me who I'm trying to make my way in. So that's why I have to that for the bigger ones, which are AEW and WWE, those are the two biggest promotions in the world. I have to kind of put that aside in order to make sure that I'm still being professional sometimes.
Have you, you don't have to tell a story if you don't want to. Have you had a moment, whether it be at a pay per view you might have been at? Because a question we did get, well, what has been your favorite event to travel to? Where you've been at a pay per view, maybe something to do with the wrestling media that you're like, I could have been more professional doing that.
I don't think so. I usually find like if I'm with media, which to be fair hasn't been a lot that I'm with them. I usually am good at kind of controlling and saying, okay, I need this is an environment where I need to be professional, and I'm usually fairly good at. Or I wouldn't say usually. I'm always pretty good at staying in that zone and controlling myself there. And when I'm not, that's when I'll enjoy myself. And I might even if I'm not with media, I'll try to like strike a balance in case I see somebody. But I'm able to flip that switch pretty well.
How do you flip that switch of, okay, I'm here as a fan to watch the show, but now it's time to do media?
For me, it's a lot of just controlling yourself and knowing the environment. I've always kind of had that where I can say, in this environment, this is who I can be. In this environment, this is who I can be. I've always kind of always done that throughout my life, depending on what type of situation I'm in. And that's like I have friends who are like, "Oh yeah, you were when we were with other people." He's like, "I've never seen you act that way in my entire life." Like my best friend said that, and I've known him for 10 years, and I've been around him a ton in my life. And we were in a situation, I don't remember where we were at, but he was like, "I've literally never seen you act like that." And it's just how I work. I can easily go from one thing to another and just know how to act.
Fair enough. So when it comes to your current show, which is All Honor, how does that
Mhm.
come about?
So All Honor is a really interesting show. We started doing that as watch-alongs to the new Ring of Honor under Tony Khan. I've been to the tapings for both the Orlando tapings that they've done. They did the original February ones, and then they did last weekend we had tapings, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I decided I was like, okay, I'm at the tapings. I can add a little bit of extra little bits of knowledge if we do a watch along and say, oh, maybe they cut this out. Maybe they cut a spot out here. Maybe the crowd, like maybe there's some piped in noise or what conversations were going on between me and my friends at this point. Like I
Hmm.
remember during the third and fourth episodes, we were all a lot of us were very tired because we had a dark taping earlier that day, and we were all like, we were figuring out how much longer the tapings were going to go. And so we're all like texting back and forth, and then somebody had a run in with security. So I told that story. So I was like, okay, this is an interesting thing I can add that nobody else can add to Ring of Honor. And then they left and they didn't go back to Orlando. And the episodes just weren't really. I still thought they were good Ring of Honor episodes, but they weren't lending itself to a watch along. So we ended All Honor, or it went on hiatus, and I brought it back last week. As of the time of recording, it'll be many, many weeks of episodes by the time this
Yeah,
releases.
sorry about that.
No, no worries. I get it. But yeah, we brought it back as a podcast, and it's going to be audio only for a while. I don't know if it will be in video by now, but the new show is not Ring of Honor focused. I just like the name All Honor. It feels like it feels good. It feels right. It feels like giving respect to what Ring of Honor's done in all of pro wrestling, because you can find honor everywhere in wrestling now.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do something where I can talk to people new every single week, because I have my friends for Around the Point Network that we talk about wrestling every week. And I love those guys, but it's the same people. And I want new opinions. I want to do something a little different. I want to stretch myself as an interviewer. And yeah, it feels like it was the best opportunity in this space for me to grow as a personality.
Hmm. You brought up that this isn't going to air for a little while. So can you tease us with some guests that would have been on by this time? I know Raj
So
Giri was the
yeah,
first episode.
yeah. So the first episode had Raj Giri. We've also had, by this point, I will have done episodes with my Around the Point co-hosts. We have a lot of people over there, so we're gonna break it up. And I don't want more than 3 people on at once. So there'll probably be a few episodes with the Around the Point guys, which will probably be like real. Those will be off the rail episodes. We're gonna have fun there. Ella J will be on as
Ooh.
well. Kylie Fuller will have been on, and there's a few others that I feel like I can get, but I don't have them confirmed by the time we're recording. So I don't want to say those in case I can't get them. But those are the ones that I'm in that will, like, 99% confident will happen.
Fair enough. So how do you go about reaching out for guests when it comes to this show then?
So a lot of these people are not only are acquaintances or coworkers, but they're friends. So I went like with Raj. He's someone that I've been we DM. I wouldn't necessarily call him a friend. He is more of an acquaintance, but me and him have DM'd about different things, like non-wrestling things, for a few years now. And so I was like, this is somebody who I would like to have on the first episode. He's a good guest to get. And so I texted him and I said, hey, I'm watching this podcast. I want you as the first guest. And we set it up. It was easy. It was easy to do that one. Ella's one of my best friends. We talk all the time. And so I texted her and I said, hey, I want you on. Same thing. She was like, all right, as long as we're not recording at 2 a.m., because she knows I like to do that sometimes. She was like, okay, as long as it's not 2 a.m., then we can do it. And then Kylie was the same thing. Kylie is a little harder because she has a much stricter schedule, but it's about like I'm easy to work around schedules right now with
Yeah.
with my current schedule. I'm easy to work around everything.
Mm. So I'm just gonna throw this out there. Bucket list. Who do you want on for the show, etc.?
So I want Sean Ross Sapp on. Obviously, I feel like that's a big one that a lot of people want on their podcasts.
Definitely.
I Yeah, I want Cam Seahawk. He's also one of my friends. I'll see him in a few days by the time we're recording. So I think I feel pretty good about that one. And then if I'm going with somebody a little far out that that I'll probably never get on, but I would really like, I really want to try to get Dax Harwood. It's
Oh,
unlikely, but it's actually not as unlikely as it might be. But that's the one that I'm gonna try for. But sometime in the next few months, I'm gonna try for Dax. I would love that one.
I think that'd be really cool. But as we look at wrapping this up, we are going to do a segment that I call generic questions. Those of you that have seen my interviews before know this is where I ask my guests questions they might get asked on social media, such as Kaden's favorite match, his favorite pay-per-view, favorite wrestler's theme, favorite tag team, and favorite wrestler. So you guys will have a place that you can know his answers to the generic questions, and you'll never have to ask him again. So what's your favorite match of all time?
Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes, Double or Nothing, 2019.
Yes. This is the first time that match has been mentioned. But why is that your favorite match? Because it's my favorite as well.
I was there in person. I thought the emotion of everything was fantastic. The two guys worked. Oh, they worked on that one. Uh, I do think though, being there in person and adding that emotion into it nothing will beat that in my opinion.
Mm. I would say that why that's my favorite match, but I don't want to take away from you. So, what's your favorite pay per view of all time?
Oh, well, that's a hard one. Ah, I'll say Double or Nothing 2019. It's a basic one, but man, that was a good show.
Mm. Does the being there in person help that aspect as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, fair enough. What about your favorite wrestler's theme of all time? Like their theme song, they come down to the ringing.
I'm gonna go with FTR's theme because it's my ringtone.
Their current one that it's, I
Yeah,
hate to
yeah,
say
the
it,
current.
but it's a rip off of the Midnight Express.
Oh, 100% it is. That's 100% what it is. And I
Yeah.
think Dax has admitted to it, but it's still a great theme.
Oh, 100%. Fair enough. Who's your favorite tag team?
FTR.
Okay. Why?
They work my style, and I also love Dax.
Hmm? And then finally, as we wrap this up, who's your favorite wrestler?
Right now, it's the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. He is the GOAT. I fully believe that he is the greatest wrestler of all time. As a face, as a heel, on the mic, everything about this guy is fantastic.
Hmm. I agree because again, he's my favorite. So as we wrap this up, Kaden, the question I end all my interviews on is with YouTube, with podcasting, with social media in general. We're all sort of gonna live forever in some sort of very strange way. So, what is one piece of content you want to be remembered for, and one that you're like, if the powers that be could forget about that, I would appreciate it.
In terms of something that I've done,
Yeah.
so my episode of Day After Dynamite with Will Washington, the second one from the Laredo Dynamite where I got MJF's gum thrown at me, that is
Oh,
my favorite episode I've ever done. I want that remembered forever. I really love that episode. There's a lot of episodes that I wish were left in the garbage and never come back to again. I could name a million for those, to be honest.
okay. Just name one.
I'll say, oh, we had a raw review on the Around the Point network. Or maybe it was, I think it might have been just like a Monday General show called Steve's Kitchen. I think it was like in February, and I got yelled at by my co-hosts, and yeah, that one I do not like. That's not a good episode.
Fair enough. So as we wrap this up, where can the good people find you and your content?
You guys can find me on the Around the Point network. We do shows almost every single day of the week. We do a lot over there. And on the Around the Point podcast feed is the All Honor podcast. It's on Spotify and Apple Music Around the Point network. So go over there. It'll be a new guest every single week. Those will release Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern time in the United States. I don't know what time that is anywhere else. I just
I
know
think
it's
that's
10 a.m.
3
Eastern.
p.m. my time, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's something like
Random.
that.
Fair
You guys
enough.
can also, yeah,
Sorry.
no
Continue.
worries.
Sorry.
My Twitter is Kaden Kaden _ FTW, and then I'm also on Fightful Overbooked. I do some stuff over on Fightful on the main channel, and I'm on True Heel Heat and True Heel Heat Sports a lot as well. So I'm on a lot of different places.
It's well worth doing, guys. Not only one of the people that I think's going to be holding wrestling media up in a few years, but one of the nicest humans in this planet, in this space as well. So if you guys like this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talk Trash. Follow me on Twitter at Tom Talk Trash, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye now.